After taking off last week, it's time to now get to my Week 12 NFL preview. I know that a lot of you won't watch these videos, but I'm going to make it for the die-hard, true fans who help this channel grow. The video begins right after this.
Before I begin, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Game Time.
Game Time has built a ticket marketplace that makes it faster and easier to get into your favorite events at a moment's notice. Game Time provides the premier marketplace for last-minute tickets to the most popular events in sports, music, and theater in more than 60 cities across the US and Canada, eliminating the need for printing, and built a better way to access the best live experiences right from your phone. Another cool feature on Game Time is something called Game Time Picks, which filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets.
Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy it, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Game Time is also obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets.
One of my greatest experiences as a sports fan was going to watch an NBA game in person. The hype, the atmosphere, the tension, it builds up with every possession, and it comes across in a much different way than you might see on television. You might also see a celebrity or two courtside, who knows? That's the type of experience that Game Time is able to offer to you. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BARRY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code BARRY, B-A-R-R-Y, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Kansas City versus Carolina. Key stat for this game, Kansas City's defense is ranked third against the run, so you better expect more Bryce Young throws, which is bad for Carolina because Bryce Young is doo-doo, as we all know. However, because this is the Chiefs and they like trolling and not really taking things seriously until the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if this game was close for a little while before the Chiefs pulled away at the end to win 30-10. Minnesota versus Chicago. My key stat is that Caleb Williams hasn't thrown a touchdown in the United States since October 6th. That's nearly 2 months. What is he saying? Is he saying that he hates America? To me, that's a big red flag and might be cause for benching him. But jokes aside, the Chicago offense has not been able to do anything the last several games, and I think Brian Flores, the Vikings defensive coordinator, is going to have a field day against Williams, the rookie, and that's why I think although Williams will make a couple plays, the Vikings will still win 27-19. Detroit versus Indianapolis. Key stat for this game, Detroit has scored 40 or more points 4 times since week 4. Really, outside of that 5 interception aberration against the Texans a couple weeks ago, Jared Goff has been playing quarterback or executing the position as well as really anybody ever has, throwing for a shitload of yards, a bunch of touchdowns, and a super high completion percentage. Now, because it's Jared Goff, people are always going to be saying, well, is it really him or the system? Is it Ben Johnson, whatever, the offensive coordinator? No matter who it is, the Lions should win this game pretty comfortably, and that's why I think they're going to win this 42-21. Houston versus Tennessee. My key stat for this game is if you thought the Titans were bad enough, they're about to be even worse in your mind, because the Titans' 2 wins this season have come against a backup quarterback and a rookie quarterback, so they've never beaten a team with its starter who wasn't a rookie. So guess what? CJ Stroud, he's had a disappointing sophomore season, a sophomore slump you might want to call it, but still, he's better than a lot of other quarterbacks in the league. The talent is still there, so although the Titans always do a thing where they start the game off great and they might trick you into thinking it's going to be a close contested game, I actually think that's how it's going to be. I think this will be a close game, but the Texans will just win out because they have a massive quarterback advantage. I have them winning 24-17. Miami versus New England. My key stat for this game is that Miami is a lot better with Tua at quarterback than they are without Tua. Duh. Miami's offense is essentially picked up where it left off from years past with Tua at quarterback. They get Tyreek involved, they get Jalen Waddle involved, they're getting Jonnu Smith involved. So with Tua, the Dolphins are a solid team and not a pushover. However, even without Tua, the Dolphins were able to defeat the Patriots this year, their only win without Tua this season. However, Patriots were playing Jacoby Brissett at that time and not Drake May, who still has trouble with turnovers as he's a rookie, but has shown a lot of promise and the ability to score touchdowns and scramble very, very well, and very sneaky. So although I do believe this will be a close game, I do think the Dolphins will come out on top with a 27-21 win. Tampa Bay versus the Giants. My key stat for this game, the Giants defense is vulnerable to quick passes, so expect a big day from Baker, dinking and dunking like a former Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback whose name escapes me at the moment. The big news obviously this week is that the Giants have released celebrated defensive back Daniel Jones from his contract after a very successful tenure tenure with the Giants, including one entire playoff win in, 6 years, 7 years? Who gives a shit? That brings back Tommy DeVito as the starter, so we got all the same Italian jokes and all that shit. The fact is that DeVito will not throw a lot of interceptions, but he will take a lot of sacks, and he also will throw a decent amount of touchdowns, so I wouldn't be surprised if he throws for 2 or 3 touchdowns, but at the end of the day, the Buccaneers should win this game, and I think they will win this game 34-24. Washington versus Dallas. Key stat for this game: neither of these teams have made a conference championship game since 1995. So yes, this is one of the very few instances where Cowboys fans can say, hey, this team's been worse than us over the last 30 years. But either way, as it pertains to right now, in the present time, it's a lost season for the Cowboys. Wow, there's a lot of promise in Washington. And I'm not just talking about the election, folks. Jaden Daniels seems to be hitting a little bit of rookie wall the last couple weeks, although that's typical of Cliff Kingsbury offenses. They start out on fire the first half of the season, and then they fall off. Remember, this was a guy who had a losing record as a head coach with Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback, which is basically impossible to do, but he somehow did it. Either way, and also Dan Quinn, we all know, despite having a defensive background, his teams have, as a head coach, have never really been great defensively. But nonetheless, the Cowboys are in such a mess right now that the Commanders should sleepwalk to a win here. Although I don't think any result of this game will really tell us much that we don't already know. I think the Commanders win 38-21. Denver versus Las Vegas. Key stat for this game, which is a basic stat, but it really tells the whole story. The Las Vegas Raiders are dead last in the NFL in turnover margin, and it might be a simple stat, but it's also a very impactful and telling stat. The fact is that the Raiders just cannot take care of the ball, and in case you're new to American football, that's a pretty big fucking deal. Meanwhile, Bo Nix continues to improve, although I still think he's somewhat like Ryan Tannehill, where I don't know whether he's good or not. I know he's not terrible, but I don't know if he's great. Either way, the Broncos have been, I guess, a pleasant surprise, or positive surprise this year, and Bo Nix has been better than a lot of people thought he would be, even as a first-round pick. I think the Broncos win this one pretty handily, 31-20. I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders have a garbage time touchdown to make the final score a little more cosmetic. Green Bay versus San Francisco. Big news for this one. Brock Purdy's out. Nick Bosa's out because he was celebrating too hard from their election results a couple weeks ago. The 49ers are having one of those years that they have every couple years where everybody's injured and they suck. So the backup quarterback for the 49ers is Brandon Allen, who I didn't even know was still in the league after a couple stints with the Broncos and the Bengals, I think. Either way, he's not very good, which is why he's a backup quarterback. And the Packers, although they do have their flaws, especially Jordan Love is turnover prone and unpredictable, Packers, with all the injuries to the 49ers, the Packers should win this game 35-21. Arizona versus Seattle. Arizona is currently on a 4-game win streak, and that's what my key stat revolves around. Arizona has allowed just 3 touchdowns during this 4-game win streak, which is excellent. So this is a team that all the focus is on Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. and James Conner, all the weapons they have on offense. Really the defense has been the side of the ball that's getting it done and allowing Kyler to have one of the most successful later season stretches of his career. Normally, a lot like Cliff Kingsbury, I don't know if there's any correlation there because Kingsbury was Kyler's coach for about 4 years, is that in Kyler's career, he's known to wear down as the season goes on, and his record and his stats are all worse later in the season. Well, that hasn't been the case this year. The Seahawks are coming off of an impressive upset road win against the 49ers, and Geno Smith is always liable for 2 or 3 amazing throws per game, but I think this is going to be a close game. I think it goes down to the wire, and the Cardinals will win on a game-winning drive. The Cardinals will do to the Seahawks what the Seahawks just did to the 49ers last week. Cardinals win 28-24. Philadelphia versus the Rams. My key stat for this game is that the Eagles are top 9 in both points per drive and points allowed per drive. So the Eagles are a very, very well-rounded team. Last year, their biggest issue was their defense sucked, and that hasn't been the problem though so far this year. But the Rams are starting to heat up a little bit. Matthew Stafford had an incredible game versus the Patriots, throwing dots all over the place. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are there. So the Rams, they're going to be a tough out when they're fully healthy, obviously. But I just believe at this point in time that the Eagles are the better team. Jalen Hurts is playing some of the best ball of his career in the last month or so, which hasn't really been talked about a lot. Saquon Barkley is arguably the best running back in the league this year besides Derrick Henry. I just think the Eagles are the better team, and they should win this one rather comfortably, 34-20. And finally, Baltimore versus the Chargers. Much like Arizona, the Chargers are currently on a 4-game win streak, and my key stat for the game is that Justin Herbert has 8 touchdowns to just 1 turnover during the Chargers' 4-game win streak. And I said earlier in the year that it kind of reminds me somewhat of Harbaugh's first year with the 49ers about a decade ago, where Alex Smith, and obviously Justin Herbert is better than Alex Smith was, but the Chargers have really started to become a Harbaugh team where not all the emphasis is on the quarterback. They have a lot of running game and an elite defense, and so Herbert doesn't really have to try and force throws or do a lot of things that he had to do in years past, and so that's why he hasn't had a lot of turnovers. He has just one interception on the entire season, but of course he's still Justin Herbert, and despite his inconsistency, the arm talent is still insane. So in the rare situations where it is needed for him to get going or make plays, he can do so. That's why the Chargers are a very good team, and that's why I think they're not going to win this game, because the Ravens, I think, are going to bounce back after a rough outing versus the Steelers, but the Steelers always seem to give Lamar Jackson problems. I think overall Lamar will make a couple more plays, and the Ravens will win 27-17. This is just an overall look at my predictions for this week, all in one place. I already lost the Thursday Night Football game because I picked the Steelers to win, and whenever I pick the Steelers to win, these motherfuckers always end up losing. They're the biggest troll team ever. I cannot wait to see them get eliminated this year. And yeah, everything else is just there. My Week 11 record last week, it started out well during the early games on Sunday, and then in the primetime games and afternoon games, it just went in the toilet. I still finished with a 9-5 record. My overall season record, including Thursday Night Football this week, is 87-48, which is a 64.4% winning percentage. Not terrible, but not great. Either way, hope you enjoyed this video, and please press that subscribe button if you haven't already. Take care.